On today's show, the most interesting player on the Dallas Mavericks next season is also the most known player on the Dallas Mavericks.
Dwight Powell.
I'll tell you why it's Luka Doncic on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, comment anything below. Comment, who is your most interesting player on the Dallas Mavericks that you are most interested in? Not the most interesting to everyone, the most interesting to you. And joining me from the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, the cult leader himself. I saw him command multitudes. What do you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Well, that's a great introduction, I think. The cult leader. We're taken over by storm this year.
I'm glad that you use your powers for good and not evil.
Hey, I was in Waco this past weekend, and
Are you referring to the fixer-upper people who created a dynasty and
the Magnolias?
Yeah, Magnolia Farms, whatever. Have they used their powers for good?
I don't know. I don't know much about them, but I'd have to guess
too much shiplap in this world.
Yeah. I don't know them, but I'd just guess no.
No, I think they're doing great. Good for them. I don't know. They have a magazine, a TV network. I don't know what the hell they're doing right now.
I know.
Today, we're going to talk about I know what we are going to do. We're going to talk about the most interesting players in the Dallas Mavericks. I've got a couple role players that I want to talk about, Grimes and Naji Marshall. I'm fascinated in them. I think Dereck Lively also, it can be really interesting next season, especially widely across the NBA. We're going to go deep in the bag, because I think Hardy and Omax are kind of interesting for the Mavericks next season too. But the most interesting player on the Mavericks, and every time you say the most interesting, you want to just do the most interesting man in the world. You know, you just want to do that over and over again. But to me, the most interesting player on the Mavericks next season is also the most well-known player. It's Luka, and it feels like we know the most about Luka. We know what his game's going to be. What is he going to change? We were talking about when we did the grid the other day, you know, who has the most potential? We're like, well, Luka is, you know, could Luka get better? It's like, I feel like we know what Luka is. Where is there room for him to get better? Maybe his free throw percentage, maybe his 3-point percentage being the same as last year, maybe his conditioning, maybe his injuries and all. I mean, we don't know what he can get to necessarily, because like Jaren Jackson Jr. said on a podcast recently, it looks like he's been in the NBA for 100 years, just the way that he plays. But Luka is set up this season. He's going to be the MVP favorite, the betting favorite going into the season again. FanDuel has him. And that's like 5 years in a row of him being the betting favorite to win MVP. And if he doesn't win it again, or if the Mavericks don't, with the team that they have set up for him right now, then what happens with Luka? Then what happens? He's also coming off of a finals appearance where I think that there's going to be interest in how they respond to that, how he responds to them failing in the finals. There is some interest going into Luka Doncic's season next year.
Yeah, it's funny because Nick was like, my most interesting players, and he did 3 like bench role guys. And I was like, oh, I'm just going with the heavy hitters. It's my most interesting ones.
I was zigging and zagging, and he was like, no, here's the answer. Yeah. I'm like, dang it, you're right.
It's going to be so intriguing because it does. You look at his stats and the numbers, and it's like, how do you even get better? like in theory, you're supposed to reach your peak at 27, 28. I feel like in today's NBA,
as an athlete,
right? As an athlete,
not as like, a human, right?
Not as a. I mean, hopefully not. I mean, you do wonder for an NBA player, like, does it get better than being in the NBA?
Oh man, I just listened to an interview with Joey Votto. I know this is baseball and different, but Joey Votto just retired recently, and he played in like AAA for like 9 months the last year. And he's like, I carried my own bags for the first time in forever. He's like, I stayed in these like crappy hotels and stuff like this. And then you start thinking about the life of an athlete, and you go, man, there may not be much better than flying around.
That's what I'm saying.
For
me, I hope I haven't peaked already. I mean, that would be really shameful.
They tried to paint the bubble as this terrible experience, and I don't know. Yeah. I saw Willie Cauley-Stein's set up in there. He had a music studio. He had a gaming system set up. I mean, he had not even a gaming system, a streaming station set up. He had everything.
Yeah, the prison that was the NBA bubble would be all of our dream vacations.
It was very humid there. I'll tell you that was
True,
there.
true. But no, it's Luka because it's interesting to see how his game's going to improve. Because what you said, what Jaren Jackson Jr. said, is really how it happens. Like, it's what happened with LeBron. Because LeBron, when he was younger too, was like, how is this guy going to get better? I mean, and he added the post games and stuff like that. But it was really, he just became in such total command of the game. So when he went back to Cleveland for the second time, that was really kind of peak LeBron, because he was so smart. He knew everything you were going to do. He played in so many games, so many big games. And that's just where Luka's going to get, where maybe the stats take a hit here and there, but when you just watch him, it's just he's in such total command of the game. And he already is, but just playing more, going to the finals, like all of this stuff will bode well for him. And it's going to be the MVP chase. Like, that's going to be one of the biggest stories of the season for the Mavericks, is Luka's MVP hunt, because he made a big push last year. I mean, really should have won it. Like, it's going to be looked back upon years from now. It's like the guy who averaged 34-point triple-double pretty much and made the finals. Like, how is that not an MVP season on a 50-win team?
It's like we look back and are like, how did we only give Kobe and Shaq like one each?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, LeBron should have won it in 2011. Like, all of these MVPs that, like, down the line, you're like, well, how did this guy not win it? Because context gets lost and stuff, even though Luka should have won it with context.
Well, and we have the whole picture now with seeing how the playoffs went and how Jokic's team didn't make it out of the second round, and Luka's team made it to the finals, and Luka's team beat SGA's team, the two guys that were in front of him. So, yeah, it's Luka. Luka, I think, has a if Luka doesn't win the MVP this year, and he comes up short again, and maybe the Mavs success, maybe they're out in the second round, out in the first round, something like that. The narrative has kind of already changed on Luka nationally, where he's a whiner, he's a crybaby. You know, it's always the negatives. It doesn't even feel like he got a lot of credit for making the finals itself, right?
He got none. It felt like it was worse for him to make the finals.
To make it. It's like LeBron losing the finals, right? Like, LeBron has gone to the finals more times than Jordan did, but LeBron, it's a negative for him to make the finals with a team that shouldn't have made it and lose.
Yeah, it's the dumbest thing in the world. But you're saying,
so if he doesn't this year, does it change at all, or?
I guess it would have to depend. I think
I was kind of setting you up. The answer is he has to win the MVP and the finals, or else it won't move.
Yeah,
the narrative will not move on him unless he succeeds at the highest level, and that's why
I was having this conversation earlier where it was like, this is how it's always been. Though Dirk was soft, Dirk was a loser, Dirk was a choker until he won. That's how it's. Giannis was running dunk man. Do you remember?
No bag. The bagless all-star.
The Chris Middleton was Batman. Like, that was a popular opinion.
Somebody actually said that.
Yeah, no, it was I think it was Ball Don't Stop. I think that was who it was.
No.
But I think a player might have said something similar though too. But it was like, I mean, people made fun of you for that comment, but it was some stuff people said.
It was Kendrick Perkins, by the way. That's who it was.
Kendrick Perkins. There you go.
Former player, like, played the finals.
Yeah, I mean, it does take that. It does, even winning an MVP doesn't erase that. It's winning a championship. And the way basketball discourse is now, you just saw Jason Tatum. That's not even the case. Like, you have to win the NBA Finals and be amazing.
Yeah, he's not even getting really credit for that. I mean, we're talking more about how he, like, said anything is possible and all that stuff. Like, we're not even giving him a ton of credit for it because he didn't shoot well and he got kind of carried a little bit.
I mean, the basketball discourse is so cooked. Even like the Jokic, it's like, well, they didn't play a 50-win team. The Giannis one's like, well, they got lucky. Kevin Durant's foot was on the line. Like, everything that happens now is just
the 2022 Curry one. He got a lot of credit for that. All of a sudden, he was getting put in top 10 conversations because of it.
That's true. The legacy rings feel like they matter more.
You got to win 4. By the way, for MVP on FanDuel, Luka plus 350, Jokic plus 360. Can you imagine Jokic winning a 4th? I can't.
No, it's not going to be him. That would be burning money.
There's just I just can't imagine.
Well, it's kind of set up with we're expecting less of the Nuggets now.
The Mavs missed the postseason last
I know.
year.
Lucas should have won last year.
Came back, won 50 games, won on this huge tear at the end. Zach Lowe was on record a couple times. He gave away his vote. That probably says a lot more about Zach Lowe, that he gave away his vote. Like, that's power right there. You just don't hang on to that. But he said that if Luka had 10 more games, he probably would have won MVP.
The goalpost is the move for him. Like, they just do. And I never really subscribed to this idea that the media is unfair. But I've said before, like, he's been the betting favorite for 4 years. It's almost like he has voter fatigue for an award that he has not
He's never won. Not even gotten second.
Like, it's just
third. This is the highest he's got was third.
I know, and that's in my brain. I thought he finished second, and I'm like, oh my god, he finished third.
Yeah.
34-9-9 on a 50-win team. Where if you dive deeper, it's like by the trade deadline, nobody played more lineups in the NBA than the Mavs because of all their injuries.
You're just redoing my Luka MVP case episode at the end of the season.
The more time goes on, it's just like unbelievable almost.
Here's Luka's MVP finishes in his career. Didn't place in his rookie year. 4th his second year. 6th, 5th, 8th when they missed the postseason, which makes sense. 3rd last year. 34 points a game, 9 rebounds, 10 assists basically. Shot, 38% from 3, so it's not efficiency. Played 70 games last year, so it's not games played. It's like, what else does he got to do?
They got to win mid-50s games would be my.
It's about team success, and so
yeah.
But one of the reasons why Luka's interesting is because when we did the grid a couple days ago, one of the things in the grid was who was in the best position to succeed. We made that one, but it's a great one. And it could be Luka because it's the best team that's ever been around him. So if Luka's going to have a chance to earn these things, to move the narrative at all from him, he has an opportunity this season with the team that's around him. Coming up, Dereck Lively, very interesting player next season. What's his ceiling? What's his potential? I don't even know if we can answer it. We're going to try. Coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicles, level it up to peak performances, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money every time. Every time you get a part and it's eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's going to fit your car. That's great. That's peace of mind right there. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. For your second listen, make it Locked On NBA. On Thursdays, I'm on there. Go check it out. See what we're talking about. I don't know what we're talking about yet because I'm recording this before Locked On NBA, but go listen there. I'm also there on Monday. Go make your second listen Locked On NBA wherever you're listening or watching this show. Locked On NBA is there with you every day, breaking down the big stories in the NBA. All right, Slightly, the most interesting players in the NBA for the Dallas Mavericks. Luka, number 1. Feel great about that one. It's a great one. Dereck Lively. He's starting to get national recognition, I feel like, for a player that did what he did last season. And I'm going to go through it again. There has not been a player since I think Yao Ming or Al Horford to be a rookie to play as much as he did to make the playoffs. Rookie centers do not succeed on teams. Rookie centers are Joel Embiid, who's on a bad team, or Ayton, who's on a bad team. It just happens because that's the way the draft works. It makes sense. And so it's not even necessarily against some of those other players, but Dereck Lively is put in a very specific position. And when you're on a team that has championship expectations or playoff expectations or desperate playoff expectations like the Mavs did last year, to be Dereck Lively, to be in that position of impact where they needed him. When Lively missed games at the beginning of last season, it was apparent. And for him to make the impact that he did with the demand that he had, with the expectations that the team had, is insane. And to see how he levels up and does it again this season is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, the expectations part, I never really thought about that until just this second, where it's like the Mavs have been just desperate for a center for like a decade plus.
Oh.
And they draft one 12th overall. And it's not like they bring in like a stopgap center or anything like that. They say immediately, this is our guy. Like, this is who we're going with. This is going to be the center of the future for us. And he was just like, yeah, I'm ready for the moment and everything. What the hell happened in the award voting last year? He was second team all rookie, man.
He didn't play a lot of games.
That is true.
He played 55 games. He got beat out. I remember who's on all rookie that
Podzimski, man. It was Podzimski was the bad one.
Pods. Mavs fans were clamoring for Moses Brown to be the starting center of the Dallas Mavericks at one point recently. recently on a Luka Doncic team. I mean, that's where we were. And now they have a center that another reason why Lively could be interesting. He could add a 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting.
That's
it's like,
fascinating.
honestly, one of the most interesting side plots of the upcoming season for the Mavs.
It's going to be one of the big things we talk about at Media Day, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Media Day is coming up at the end of September, and we're going to, if we get a chance, Lively's going to be sitting across from us, and I'm going to go, how's the jumper, right? Like,
Yeah.
whose call is it for you to deploy that in a game? Yeah, that's I'm going to ask him all about it.
The nice thing about that is it's like this could all just be hype, and it's just like, oh, Lively's not actually shooting threes, and it would be fine. Like, it's still
He
could
wants
still
to
make progress in other areas. I know he wants to, but it's just if he's like 20% on half an attempt a game.
They drew one up in the NBA Finals for him.
That's crazy, man. What a moment. It sucks that was in it. I wish that was in like game 2 or something, or game 3, where it was like, whoa. But, the vibes are already like kind of down when he hit that, or else it would have been 10 times better.
I was reminded today about us all changing our profile pictures to the Luka with the headphones, the LeBron meme. It was a great day in Mavs. So Mavs like fandom.
Shout out to me. Shout out to me. Shout out to Lynn and whoever else did it.
Shout out to me. That's gonna be one of the most clipped things, I think.
Wait, what does that have to do with Lively though?
Just thinking about the finals, and I was thinking about that moment, and
yeah.
I was just thinking about them. I was thinking about the vibe, like you were talking about the vibes. The vibes when he made that 3. I was like, yeah, they would have been so much better. Imagine if they would have won that game where we all changed our profile pictures. He would have made the 3, and all was like, we would have been on cloud 9. They tie the series up 2-2 or whatever, 3-3. Go to a game 7, and
dude, I know that would have been awesome. I mean, the fact they made the finals is still awesome.
we're happy to be there.
We were though, genuinely.
We were. Let's do the end. Let's go deep in the bench right now.
Okay.
Jaden Hardy, to me, is an interesting player because I think that there's a scenario where Jaden Hardy is the backup point guard and he overtakes Dinwiddie, overtakes Exum, and all of a sudden we're going, oh my gosh, all the Jaden Hardy flashes that we saw in the NBA Finals and in the Western Conference Finals come to fruition. His handle gets a little better, decision making gets better. It's another year in the NBA. We know he's out there. We know he's out there with those guys working out in LA, doing those like the OTAs, I'm calling them, like the optional, training or workouts that they're doing in LA with all those guys. And so maybe this is the year that it breaks through because growth is not always linear. I'm just going to keep saying that about Jaden Hardy because he's got the talent. We've seen it. We've seen him come up in big moments in NBA games and not be afraid. And for him to still not be afraid is why he got to play in the playoffs. And I think that he could still have a chance, or he could be out of the league and like out of the rotation. It's one of the two, which makes it interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely very interested in him. And like you said, growth's not always linear in the NBA. And who knows, maybe that confidence that the Mavs showed in him in the playoffs, and it was really just kind of out of desperation. But, it could be interpreted as confidence by Hardy, gives him sort of the, all right, I belong here. The team believes in me. I know on the grid thing, I said I picked him as the most overrated player on the team only because the questions people ask me about him replacing Kyrie and stuff like that, that's just not something that I think he can develop into.
You're regretting that one now too?
No, I'm not regretting that one. I hope people know the context of why I said it. I hope people know the context of why I said it. But no, it's definitely, more of a playmaking leap and efficiency leap. And there's definitely pathways for him to be a first guard off the bench.
You also picked Omax because you've got a very specific thing you want from Omax next season.
I want there to be like a stretch in January. Well, I don't want there to be, but it's the NBA and there will be injuries and stuff. Just like I want there
to be a stretch in January where everyone's hurt.
That's I got how that was going to come out. So I wanted to preface it by saying there's never been a super healthy team in the NBA besides the Kings who finished in third in the West that one year.
You couched that well.
in the Thunder last year, insane injury luck. But the Mavs have never been the beneficiary of that, in my memory at least. Even when they won the finals, Caron Butler was hurt. People forget that.
Yeah, that he was a big piece to that team. And
people forget that
didn't play at all in the playoffs.
I know, but
most of the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, he missed like the whole season almost. But
you want to stretch from Omax? Yeah,
like Omax has to fill in, and there's like a 15-minute a game stretch from Omax where you're like, well, hold on now. There's something here for real.
He just gets hot from 3. He gets hot from three. He does that thing. You remember, I bring this moment up a lot because it was such a big moment. Dorian Finney-Smith's rookie year. The Mavs are about to go into overtime against the Bucks. And like Dorian picks up Giannis the last couple plays of the fourth quarter and shuts him down. And they go into overtime. I think they may have lost the game. They might have won it. But it was just such a big moment where you go, this undrafted kid from Florida just came in and we saw you saw him on this big stage. And then he became Dorian Finney-Smith, one of the most beloved role players in Mavs history, probably. And yeah, I want a moment like that for Omax in that stretch that you're talking about. And I do want everyone to get hurt.
Oh, well, Nick said it, not me. I don't want that. Or how about this? How about this for better vibes?
Give me Kessler Edwards.
Oh yeah, Kessler Edwards. Omax is going so crazy in the G League or wherever that they just have to put him in the lineup. How about that? Is that better?
There you go. No, I think the way we did it was good.
Yeah.
All right, coming up. I've got two role players that could be playing huge moments, could be starting for the Mavs, could be playing massive moments for this Mavericks team. And we kind of don't know anything about them as Mavs fans. Let's talk about those guys coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly. I got two more. The most interesting players in the Mavericks world. Quentin Grimes. I'm a big believer in Quentin Grimes. I think I am the number one Quentin Grimes believer right now that's out there. I talked about him so much, I feel like. He's going to come in, to me, I think. Come in. He can hit threes. He shot 37% from three in his career. He shot 38% the 2 years that he actually played real minutes, the one where he didn't get traded to the Pistons and be on the worst team ever.
Yeah.
And he's defended really well on that Knicks team. They were a playoff team. He started 66 games, defended the best player on the other team every night. That was his role. They ended up moving on from him because they needed a little bit more offense and ball movement, things like that. But the Mavs, Quentin Grimes fits exactly what you want in that role. He is the 3-and-D player the Mavs really want. He wants to be in Texas. It's one of the reasons why he left the Pistons and wanted to leave the Pistons. There's many reasons to leave the Pistons. But Quentin Grimes also has these knee injuries. He had a right knee issue in 2022 that held him out of some games. He had a right knee soreness that held him out of 26 of 32 games for the Pistons. And so it could be a knee thing. And we may... he's supposed to be healthy at the beginning of the season. He seems to be fine and everything good right now. So it should be good to start the season. But the knee may hold him back, and we go, oh man, the outline, the silhouette of a really good, great role player is there, but he just isn't there injury wise. That could happen. Or we could go, man, the Mavs just got a steal in this guy. And all of a sudden, Quentin Grimes is fighting for starting minutes with Klay Thompson. And then we go, man, how do we hold Quentin Grimes out of closing lineups and things like that?
Yeah, I think Grimes is interesting because the idea of him is like the souped up Josh Green that you kind of hoped Josh Green would turn into, where there actually is elite on ball perimeter defense traits and there is legit on ball creation stuff. But it's just we haven't seen it a lot in his career consistently. But I've said it before, there was a time just 2 years ago where this guy was untradeable in trade talks for real legit players like Donovan Mitchell, that the Knicks really didn't want to include him in trades, or Knicks fans as well. I can't really speak for Leon Rose, but it's I don't know.
Do we know his dad? Does his dad work for us? All right, we can try.
Yeah, seriously, that's pretty much what it was. But I guess too, what makes it interesting for Quentin Grimes is if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not.
It's you hope for the best, and if it hits, it hits.
It's not, and he's 24. He just turned 24 in May. I mean, he just turned 24. He was born in 2000. You want to feel old?
24 being 2000 is insane.
And yeah, there's not a lot riding on him, but you and I, when we did the grid, we mentioned the grid thing 8 times. When we did the grid, we talked best perimeter defenders. It was Grimes and Marshall. Yeah. And we go, well, what if Grimes doesn't work? Then all of a sudden it's just Naji Marshall as good wing defenders for the Mavs. Yeah. What if Omax doesn't pan out? What if Klay is not as good? I mean, there's those kind of contingencies. I think Quentin Grimes could be in a position where you go, man, we really need this guy, and he's coming up big, or he didn't come up big. And man, the Dinwiddie for Grimes minutes are not the 3-guard lineups with Luka, Kyrie, and Dinwiddie are not working the way that we hoped. It could be that scenario down the road.
Yeah, I mean, if you just throw last year away for him because it was a weird year, injuries, like you said, traded midseason, and was like in trade talks, was for the moment the season started, was basically unhappy with his spot in the rotation and stuff.
Well, he didn't go to Villanova, so
true. That was out. They were out against him the entire time. And he's a Texas guy. I mean, Houston guy, but he's a Texas guy. So, it's interesting. He's an interesting player.
My last one, last most interesting player is the Knife. I love that nickname. It's a great nickname. Naji Marshall, the Knife. He, to me, has a chance to just be one of those role players we look back on and go, man, like him and PJ Washington could form a tandem that is like the Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith. Do you remember the nickname that Dorian Finney-Smith gave him and Reggie Bullock?
The Bash Bros?
It's worse than that.
It's the Smash Bros?
Dirtier than that.
Dirtier than the Smash Bros. What was it again? Something Brothers.
Bang Bros.
Bang Bro. That's what it was. That's what it was.
I think Naji Marshall and PJ Washington could be the elevation of the Bang Bros. Yes. Because they can do extra things. Naji Marshall can do a lot of different things. I mean,
I'm talented at everything.
He is. He's talented in a lot of different things. And I think that Naji and PJ Washington together could be really, really special, by the way.
You know, Bang Bros. Trying to keep it. The Bang Bros.
Oh, man. I love Dodo.
Good times. Oh, he's one of the best. But Naji's also that dog. We did the grid. We said, who's the biggest dog? It's Naji Marshall. And him and PJ together standing on business and the Knife standing up. I mean, that duo could be special.
I mean, just watching Naji Marshall, knowing who he is, there's going to be times in the season where it just feels like he has to be in the starting lineup, or you have to figure out a way to get him on the floor in the closing minutes. And it's just going to be, how do the Mavericks navigate that? Because he's going to do the dirty work. He's going to play defense. He's going to hopefully shoot from three at a decent enough clip.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 38% again, but if it's 35, 36, that's passable for all the other stuff that he does. And it's just going to be like, this guy is such a difference maker that he has to be on the court. So the Mavs have done really well in the Nico era of these type of guys. They've done really, really well of finding the values in free agency. Dereck Jones Jr. last year, Exum, Bullock. Yeah. I mean, they're all like, they hit on these guys at a very good clip. So
he's playing with the best playmaker he's ever played with, and probably will ever play with
by like 100 times.
Yeah. Difference between Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum and Luka or Zion.
Yeah, it's Zion. I mean, it's staggering.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna be out there and ready for it, prepared for it. I think he's gonna fit with the, him and PJ and Daniel Gafford. If that's a lineup ever, like, don't try anything against the Mavs.
That would be a hilarious lineup.
And it'll probably happen. It could be the bench lineup. Remember last year, Luka and PJ would stay on, and Kyrie and Dereck Jones Jr. would go off, and Gafford would come back after Lively went off, and that was the backup lineup.
I can't wait this team's gonna be really good, man. I'm very excited. I mean, there's been times where I feel, and I can sense it, to where it's like I'm just talking myself into a team that I know that I'm actually not confident in.
2 years ago.
But 2 years ago, even going into last year, I was really. I liked them, but I wasn't like uber confident. And how could you have been after how the season before ended? But man, this team just feels like, on paper, they've just built a really good team.
They have. Look at it. Look at it.
I mean, look at it.
Look at it.
The only concern is Luka. I mean, did you see him at the Dragon Night?
Speaking of dragon, he was dragging his ass all across the court.
I'm just kidding.
When did the pictures happen? When did the still images of Luka start popping up? Remember, every summer we go these still images of Luka.
Did you not see him from the dragon thing? They're all over Twitter. And look, I've defended him on my channel, but I mean, that his jersey was a 5X. Who gave him that jersey? Who gave him that? It was so baggy.
It's coming back. The baggy, the 90s style, the baggy is coming back into style.
Look, I can vouch for Luke, because I'm the same way. Baggy just doesn't look great. It doesn't do you any favors.
Yeah, if you're compensating for something, baggy is not great.
Yes, exactly.
If you look great without it on, it's gonna look good on you no matter what. So
yeah, true.
Fashion. There's my fashion advice.
It's It's great advice.
There you go. That's his most interesting player. Let us know in the comment section. Who do you think is the most interesting player on the Mavericks next season? We'll be back with more, all kinds of Dallas Mavericks stuff. We continue throughout all the offseason and all that. And we got vowels in our name. So go check out Locked On Mavs. Go see it on Spotify. And guys, thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.